then you can't really practice because you have to have that object of meditation. That said, what I taught in the Heart Sutra, commenting on Avalokiteshvara's method, Guan Yin's method, even though the method is called contemplation of sound, it's actually contemplation of hearing. It's the faculty of hearing. Now, hearing is a different matter. Hearing is one sense faculty, and it's not outside, you see? So when the method is complicated, it's typically easier to do, but the level of concentration reached is shallower. When the method is simple, it's hard to get a handle on it at first, but then the depth of concentration will be deeper. So when we begin listening to ambient sounds, the mind is actually quite busy cognizing all the different things. And from hearing these different sounds, there's also a lot of other things going on, like spatiality, directionality of the sound. The mind is quite busy cognizing all these different things. Whereas one steady sound, simpler, and but the concentration can be deeper. But either case, what you want to do is, perhaps this is easier, is to start with sounds, right? And then at some point, once you feel relaxed and grounded, and the way I teach is, yes, you start with sounds. It could be busy, it could be one constant sound. But what you want to do is begin to make the transition to, metaphorically speaking, to be like a sounding board. Like the sounds are coming to you instead of the mind going out, grasping, identifying, cognizing different sounds. So you're allowing sounds to be here. So you want to make a shift to begin experiencing the sound in an embodied way. So maybe 60, 70% of your awareness is actually being relaxed and grounded. Instead of listening to particularity of sound, you're embodied, relaxing and grounding. And then the sounds will begin to have a physicality to them. In other words, the embodied experiencing and the variety of sounds will start to blend. And then you will begin to experience sound as by coming through you. In other words, there's a physicality to the sound, like the vibrations or energy. Like sometimes when you're completely relaxed, the sound will lose this directionality, like here, over there, over there, over there. Instead, it will feel palpable experiencing of the sound. That is the transition shift from contemplating sounds to contemplating hearing. And the hearing part.
That's exactly what I'm struggling to do, moving away from a constant sound, because with a constant sound, it's much easier to, I think I know what you mean, like it's, instead of experiencing the sound as if it's this external thing, you start to realize that, what did you say, faculty of hearing, it's it's like what you said, that tripotic experience. It's like your consciousness manifesting that sound inside your, not inside your head, that's the wrong way of saying it, but it's you start to realize it's not like an external thing that you're hearing. It's this almost like a mirror in your mind's ear, I guess. And I don't get that. Well, today I haven't been able to get that same thing with listening to ambient sounds, because I just can't get that absorptive focus, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's because the ambient sound, there's a lot of things going on.
Mm.
And there's a lot of wandering thoughts, actually. That's why the mind is unable to settle down. Because, for example, you mentioned about car. How do you know it's not some person? When you hear a sound, a subtle stream of cognition, when you hear a sound, you can even know it's a small car and it's not a truck.
I noticed myself doing that. I noticed myself. I didn't used to think that I labeled when I listened. I suppose that's probably like a testament to me improving, but I noticed I was doing lots of labeling, and it wouldn't be like labeling as if, you know, your internal monologue. It would just be this little fragment of perception, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, lots of planes today. And I was like, oh, I'm labeling everything. And I think usually with it, if it's just the water sound, I can, like the whole nature of the sound completely changes. But yeah, it was just something I was wondering about, because in the context of a much longer retreat, I wonder what would be your advice, or would it just be kind of naturally I'll get better at that?
Before we get to the retreat, the problem, I mean, you tell me if I got it right or not, okay?
Mm-hmm.
To you, just from hearing some of the word choices that you're using and so on, I'm guessing that the center of gravity when you're using the method is still up here. So what you want to do, let me finish the train of thought.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Like what I was talking about, the transition, the shifting. It's very, very, very important to be relaxed and to feel grounded. I can't stress this more. So when you mention about the sound going through you, being aware, it's not really the mind. Okay. Experientially, it's embodiment, palpable, a kind of materiality of sound, like embodying the sound. So you see how I'm talking about it is different than the way that you're talking about, you're using words consciousness, your mind, you're hearing the sound. I'm not talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as if it's viscerally felt. So in order to not be distracted, labeling like whatever that you're experiencing, that's an indication your energy is here, your top heavy. So the caveat, to avoid that caveat, you have to really focus on relaxing and grounding, like feeling the earth, feeling the connection. And it's as if the transition is relaxing, grounding, relaxing, grounding. Once you start with this, and once you feel relaxed, the body is primed for sitting, you tap into the feeling tone, how you feel in this moment. You should be content, feeling at ease, and you still stay in the body, experiencing a sense of groundedness. And it just so happens that the sense faculty of the ear is open. Right? So you're not starting out like listening to sound. Let me see what's a sound in this room. So you just allow the hearing to be open to the sound. You're a sounding board. You're a receiver. You're not zero in on the different sound. That's a very different experience, okay? And that will expedite the transition from sound, whatever ambient sounds here, to you, it's here. The sound is not out there. It's actually here. Whatever ambient sound, that will expedite the transition. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, definitely makes sense. I understand what you mean. A quick follow-up on that. I've seen it referred to as a sound absorbing board in English quite a few times. There's really not a whole lot of information about this method. It's quite difficult to find a lot on there. And something that's quite useful sometimes is if you just put what it is in Chinese into Google. Often it's Dharma drum mountain resources and that kind of stuff, but it seems like there's a lot more resources on a lot more methods. And I was wondering what you'd call, I guess, sound absorbing board or whatever that phrase would be in Chinese. If there's any more any more information.
You speak Chinese or something?
I speak Cantonese.
Cantonese. All right.
Well, a bit. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, the sound absorbing board is not really a method. It's just metaphor. Right. And I'm using that metaphorically. I don't even, so I'm using this metaphorically. I'm thinking in English. So I'm trying to think. I'll have to think if my teacher have phrased it that way. You know, 收音版, maybe something like that.
Receiving sound, something.
Yeah.
What's the third?
Is board, right?
Board. Oh, like floorboard.
Yeah, board. So it's like a sound. So I'm using it in metaphorical terms to refer to like a dampening pad board, sound absorbing kind of board, like in a studio, like music studio, you know, you put that along the walls so the sound doesn't
reverberate.
Yeah. So when it comes to you, it's just kind of symbolic.
I know exactly the feeling you're meaning in terms of you're not searching. I think you said it like searching out. You're not trying to pick out sounds and things, and you're just letting things come in. Yeah.
So I'm sure you have experienced this. You know. So the way to expedite this is just to learn to relax and ground. Right? It's almost like it's like the English word avail yourself.
Avail yourself, right? Yeah.
Here, so you're not seeking, you're making available whatever sound has happened to be here, to be present here.
Great, yeah. Perfect, thank you very much.
Yeah. Who else is using sound among all the people here? Not really. So, Bing Bing, yeah.
Do you use sound? You use sound. Jason uses the sound as well. I use counting from 1 to 10. At least that's what I've been doing at home, basically, and today here. But I'm very green, so it's a learning curve. I just had a very small question because I've been trying to sit for longer periods, and it helps after a while. I manage, I think, to be more focused. But one thing I've noticed when I focus is I keep my eyes half open when I do this, and my vision starts to darken, blurry a little bit. I'm not sure whether that's common or desirable in any way.
It's normal.
So I just wanted to ask why that is.
Yeah, it's quite normal. Don't make a thing out of it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you shouldn't even be using your eyes. The eyes open, close, just allow light to come in, just so that we're not in the kind of oblivion, easier for wandering thoughts to arise or to be hazy. So the eyes slightly open, just allow light to come in. So you just treat your eyes like muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And in time, even the eyes are open, you're not even seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even seeing anything. So the way that we're neurologically wired as human beings is such that when one sensory faculty, so we have 6. In Buddhism, we talk about 6 instead of 5. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. But the way that we're neurologically, biologically structured, wired, is such that when one sense faculty is brought to the forefront, is being used, is being activated, usually the other sense faculties will recede in the background. Otherwise, if we're not built this way, we will go crazy processing all the information simultaneously, inundating us. So when you're privileging, for example, the embodied experiencing of breath, which is sense faculty of touch, which is the bodily faculty, other sense faculty functioning will lie dormant. So you won't even see anything. Now, we're so used to using our eyes. It's like the default, eyes. So you will notice different changing in the seeing. So it was just start to play trick, like your mind start to play trick. Some people see light, or they start to see the wood grain pattern and all kinds of stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. And some people see like blurry and so on. In fact, people that wear glasses, some tradition they leave the glasses on, but in our tradition, just move the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
You're not using that sense faculty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so don't be alarmed or worry, is it normal, not normal? Yeah, it's fine.
All right, thank you.
Anyone in the room? No?
Sometimes in meditation, people that work with breath, so there are 2 ways, right? Counting and just sensation. So the breath has no sensation, right? Breath is just air. It doesn't have cold, warm. It's your body that is experiencing the breath, right? So the experience is not outside you. And all of you sitting in the room, basically experiencing the same air, oxygen coming in, but each of you, your experience of coolness of the air when you inhale and warmth when it goes out is different. Why? Because it's you that's experiencing it. So what you're using in that method is actually the body faculty. So a lot of people working on the breath, they start to have trouble breathing. This sense of control, kind of try to breathe slow, whatever that. So the meditation on the sensation of breath it's not really about the breath. Breath has no sensation. It's actually a sensation method. So just sit back, relax, and just experience, embodied experiencing. It's just that instead of embodied experience the whole body sitting, what you're doing is localizing the embodiment to be here, in the nostril or the abdomen, rise and fall, so on. That's one method. Another one is counting. So let me backtrack. So the first method, sensational breath, is not really about the breath. Right? It's embodied experiencing. What about counting then? Counting is really not about the breath either. Okay. Counting is experiencing the number. So most of your awareness should be at the number. So this is the sense faculty that we're privileging, sense faculty of mind. Okay. So the mind is usually hijacking everything. What we see, what we hear, what we taste, how we feel. It's constantly got a monologue, discrimination, something to say, about everything. So counting method usually is used to serve as an antidote to distraction, discursive thinking. So since most people are just habitually in the headspace, words and language, stories and so on. So this abstract construct of words and language is very prominent in people. So counting the breath uses or utilizes this words and language and that which is familiar to most people and make it into an ally. So since we're mostly thinking all the time, so it gives the mind something to think about. It gives the mind, albeit in a simplified form, the most simple, raw form, counting from one number at a time to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10 exhalations. Yeah. So when you meditate on that, once the body is relaxed, grounded, you're basically just cultivating a sense of knowing. So complete fascination with the number. As for the pace of the breath, the speed, the quality of breath, you're not really focusing on that. So you just have to know when you're exhaling, right? Exhale, stay with the number. And it's not about matching the number with the breath or to try to use the breath to match the number. It's just exhale, you just stay with the one, just a sense of knowing. One. And then next exhalation, staying with 2. So you're staying with the most simple form of discursiveness. Right? So that's traditionally how it's taught. Yeah, it's the number, not the breath. Right? And then with sensational breath, it's the sensation, not the breath. Yeah. Any other questions or follow-up?
I was actually, I think I found myself counting and at the same time feeling the breath. Actually, I think that's what I was doing most of the time. So I feel like I was doing a little bit of both. Like I was feeling the coldness of the air getting in and then exhaling and counting the number. So you would suggest doing either or, not doing both.
Traditionally, either or, but like I said, the more complicated the method, easier to do. The simpler the method, a little bit harder. So to complicate the method, you could feel the breath, you can count it, you can even count it backwards, just complicated. So the method requires more of your attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The only caveat I would say is you have to be careful because you're paying attention to the breath and you are giving it a number. That's how it begins to control the breath. That's why people, after a while, they can't breathe anymore. They don't know how to breathe anymore because they're trying to do different things and it becomes very awkward. And that's where it begins.
Mm-hmm.
Breathing, and then very subtly, unconsciously, they start to match, you see? Either they match their breath with the number or the number trying to have some influence on the breath. So if you want to do both, I would suggest just use it in the beginning. So, because when you sit down, our mind is still a little bit more busy. So you just have a little more toys to play with. After 5-10 minutes, just see if you can just stay with one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the key is fascination. Fascination, like astonishment at that juncture of the experience of the breath. Or even that juncture of the numbering. Right? So if you want to have a lot of toys in the beginning and then settle on one, the numbering, okay? Staying with that numbering at that finite juncture in the present where the number comes out. And you stay with the number. It's almost as if you're at that juncture right before what's about to happen. That's how you stay in the present moment. So you're on one, right? One. This fascination with one. And it's like you can't wait. You can't wait for two to come, at that juncture. So when the next exhalation, two. So there's a wakefulness quality there. Right? That's actually the key of how to stay in the present. So you're just fascinated. Like, what will happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? So the mind is locked into the present. And you have to learn to kind of relax into it. You don't want to be tense about it. Right? So you just relax, sit back, and it's just like that juncture. What will happen? But you don't know. Right? Just staying with one. Even if you're on the same number one, right? Before two come, that instant by instant experiencing of one, staying with the one, that itself is quite fresh. That itself, you don't know what will happen. And then two, so don't ever take for granted that, oh, its number is so boring. I already know how to count. You don't know. Right? What is this 2? Right? And the next breath, 3. It's like, the heck? Where the hell does this come from? 3. It's like this fascination with 3. How long does it go? I don't know. Stay with it. See, so the mind is captivated, drawn, attracted. That's the secret to developing concentration.
That's really helpful to think about it that way. I didn't think about it that way at all. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
That goes with every method. Because the secret to every method, the very reason for the practice of meditation, is to be in the present. You're not anticipating the future. You're not dwelling on the past. In fact, you want to take a vacation from the past and the future. You want to take a vacation from words and language, ideally later. I know some method deals with words and language, like counting and so on. You want to take a vacation from the body, you want to take a vacation from the mind, you want to just be in the present. But what is this present? Well, the present doesn't exist. So it's just this moment to moment to moment freshness. And freshness is not a thing. It's not a thing, therefore it's fresh, right? So the key to, once the body is relaxed and grounded, and the heart's content, and the clarity of the mind, the concentration, the clarity of the mind, come from this interest, captivation. Right? So, and to be captivated without anticipating anything, without bringing any past or future, any baggage in there. The key is this not knowing. And that, like what Veer says, wonderment. That is the wonderment, this fundamental not knowing. So in terms of other methods, like anticipatory, like what's that? What will come, what you don't know what will come. You don't know what's going to happen next. So the mind's kind of attracted to this freshness, 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 freshness. In some tradition, in Chan Zen, they capitalize on this not knowing. They directly confront and cultivate this method. That's what I call the practice of wonderment. But that principle exists in all methods. Right? For anyone who practices concentration, the embodied experiencing of that is just this freshness quality, captivation. So the mind locks onto this and drops everything else. And that's an antidote to our mind of distraction, which is interested in everything else and not in what's present. Right? The mind is trained, because normally people have trained themselves to be distracted. So the mind is distracted that way. We're constantly inundated, and the whole world is in on it. Right? Social media, everything about this world is just about distraction. So the mind is habituated this way. So what we need to do in order to cultivate concentration with the mind of distraction is this interest, stimulation. So you want to localize the stimulation to this great fascination with this moment, the moment of experiencing the method. Right? That's the attitude that we bring to practice, formal practice. That great, great, great fascination. Yeah. That's how to cure the kind of habit tendency of being fascinated with everything else, but with the task at hand. Yeah.
Thank you, Guo Gu. I think I'm going to open the question to those online.
Okay.
Feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself.
By the way, I have to apologize. We have to end at 11 sharp because I have
Sure.
to go to Jacksonville, Florida today with the Tallahassee Chan Center board members. So I have to leave right on 11.
No problem. Occupy some time.
Anyone has a follow-up question?
Yes, may I have a question?
Yeah.
Azibo, it's about prostrations.
Mm.
I saw one video, your video doing prostrations. My question is, imagine I want to do, I don't know, 50 or 100 prostrations. Can I do it faster? Because in your video, you do it, I mean, the pace is very slow. So, But if I want to do it 100 prostrations, can I do it faster? And second question related to this is, if I'm doing prostration, for example, 100, I'm going to count. If I'm counting this, I mean, I'm not paying attention. I'm paying attention to body, to movement, but at the same time, I'm counting. So there's just distraction in counting the number of prostrations. How can I do it? Basically, this is my question.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
when we used to do prostrations, we used to do like 100, 500. Well, I used to do 500 in the morning, 500 in the evening. So we don't actually we don't do slow prostration, otherwise it'll take forever. So we just do a natural pace. And plus, I was younger. I was like early 20s. I was like bam, 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 doing prostration. So once you get into a rhythm and you relax into it, the body becomes very agile and it finds its rhythm. It will find its pace. Okay. So whatever pace is comfortable for you, you should do it like that. And the way I used to do it, or the way we used to do it is, we were encouraged to do several hundred a day. So we would time ourselves. 108, how long, right? And then after that, we don't count. We don't count anymore. You know, we just basically, for 108, when I was younger, doing a not quite like a normal pace, but just a little bit. Once I get into the rhythm, it's about 6, 7 seconds per prostration. You know, so if I have a lot of time, I just do like an hour, and that will bring like way more than 108. You know, yeah. So if you want to do 100, and so you see like once you get into the rhythm, then you time yourself like one prostration is how long, and then you just calculate it. Maybe if you do like 10 seconds, right? 100 would be what? Right? And then you just time it and you don't count anymore. Does that make sense? That's how we used to do it.
Okay, it does. Thank you very much. It does.
Yeah. So, for example, we have currently 3 young residents at the Tallahassee Chan Center for the year. And they're doing prostration practice, normal pace to a little bit fast. So I told them for the year, they can do 100,000 prostrations. They're divided up to, every day. Basically, what it comes down to, it's only about half an hour, 35 minutes. If they do that, it's not that long. It's not that hard to accomplish. So, yeah. Any other question?
My question is, how important, or do you think that you should maybe study the sutras or study the Buddhist philosophy as well, I guess relative to the time that you spend on meditation? Do you think it's necessary to understand maybe the Buddhist teachings or the sutras in order to be good at meditation, or you can just practice meditation and be good at it, and you don't actually need to read about the Buddhism kind of philosophy? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It's two different skill sets. Two different skill sets. Two different kinds of knowledge. One is an embodied knowledge, insight. Another one is conceptual. Ultimately, what you want to do, at a certain point, they will reach plateau. Each of these skill sets will reach a plateau. And in order to go forward, to go beyond that plateau, they need to merge, right? So that theory and experience method start to complement one another. Otherwise, one won't go far. Most people are overrun with ideas and conceptualization. They're always in the head, and their words and language completely hijacks everything. So they are like when they read the scriptures, it's all here. It's all here. Right? And when vexations come, 烦恼, difficulties, struggles in your life and all that, everything here is just right out the window, right out the window. Or they do what they usually do, which is they try to talk themselves into not be vexing, right? And we know how that works. It doesn't really work. Right? So the plateau is reached very quickly if a person starts with reading the sutras and the scriptures, because they are basically hijacked by words and language most of the time. So what they naturally do is just whatever knowledge that they've gained, they will use it as a ruler to judge themselves and judge other people. They will judge the world because it's just up here. It's just a function of discursive thinking. So the plateau is reached very quickly. The limitation of scriptural knowledge is reached very, very quickly. The plateau reached through meditation practice takes some time, because most people they're always in the headspace, you see. So they don't even know how they feel in the body. The relationship between mind, body, and breath, the dynamic effects one to the other, how they influence each other, most people have no idea what's going on, right? So it takes time to develop an embodied experience, of how to relax, how to ground, how to not allow the sense faculty of the mind to hijack every other sense faculty. So usually I teach people to meditate first, learn to disentangle themselves from the hijacking process, to develop an embodied intelligence, first. And then when they read the scriptures or the commentaries and so on, they will be able to understand it in a deeper way. Otherwise, it's just words and language. They try to use words to understand some other words or some other concept. It's just in the realm of language.
Thank you for the advice. I do relate to the person you're describing, but I don't think I'm exactly that kind of person. So, but I do feel that I read a bit more than I practice. I think I'm currently just trying to practice meditation a bit more.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Guo Gu. Should we just call it a day? I think we'll leave you a few minutes, just prepare.
Okay. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining, and mostly thank you, Guo Gu, for gonna give us a wonderful Q&A session, and have a wonderful weekend.
Okay.
Thanks.
Take care, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No.